In today's class, we are going to learn more about CSS. And let's go take a look at the topics. Today's topics are selectors. We are going to look at adding fonts. We'll look at image formats for the web, and also applying the float and the position properties to our elements. So let's begin with selectors. Now, what are selectors? We have already been using selectors in case you forgot the terminology. So let's go take a look at a CSS declaration. So table here is the selector, okay? And all these are the declarations or the CSS rules that's applied to the selector table. So table is a selector, TD is a selector, A link is a selector, and LI list items a selector, and so on. So you get the idea. There are three kinds of selectors. All the examples here, table, TD, A-link, LI, those are all the same kind of selector, and this kind of selector is called the element selector. Okay, so we have only been dealing with the element selector so far, like body, table, list item, A-link, all that is all element. There are two other kinds of selectors. There's class, and you can't see it here, but this is ID. Okay, so there's a element, class, and ID selector. All right, so let's go review that, take a look at that again. So element, for example, is the P. Oops. Let me just end here. There we go. Element is the P, right? Or body or table, as we talked about. Then you have the declaration here, okay? And then you apply it to the P, right? And it's applied to the P, whatever text is inside of the P. So we have been doing that for the last few classes. Now let's go take a look at the next kind of selector, which is a class selector. So a class selector looked like this. Now very, very important, and I'm going to kind of even have there we go. So what is here, okay? Oh, maybe I will erase that. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight this here, so maybe I'll use a highlighter. Okay, so over here, you start with a period, a dot, okay, very important. So in the CSS style sheet, when you're writing the CSS, it has to begin with a dot if it's a class, okay, and then the name of the class. So it begins with a dot, and then the name of the class, and then as usual you have the CSS rule, the declaration in there. And then in your HTML it will look like this. You have the P, then you have the attribute, and the attribute is class equals, and in quotations then you have the name of the class. The name of the class doesn't have the dot in it, it just has the name in it. And then inside the P tag you have, as usual, your text or whatever content in there, okay? So this is how you write it in your HTML. You have a P class equals warning, okay? And then in your CSS, you style it warning. The color is going to be red. All right, so let's exit out of here, and let's go take a look at Atom. I'm gonna go to box again, okay? So in my box, I'm going to I'm gonna take out my paragraph. So you know what, let's just create a new page, okay? So I'm gonna go to box and go file save as, and I'm going to call this one selectors, okay? Selectors.html in my Saffron folder, all right? And I am going to just delete all the content in main, okay, except for my paragraph here. All right, except for my paragraph here. So I have one paragraph of just the lorem ipsum placeholder. So if you don't have this for some reason and you're starting with a blank page, that's totally okay. What I would like you to do is to what I would like you to do is to go to course documents and then copy and paste that lorem ipsum in there. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. This is a little bit messy. So all I would have in here is really, okay, main, and inside of main I would just have a paragraph here and then another paragraph. So 2 paragraphs here, okay? So the first paragraph is just going to be plain, nothing in it, and the second paragraph I'm going to have class equals, warning, okay? Class equals warning, and I'm going to save that, save all. And then in my CSS, I'm going to go over to my CSS and, okay, so you can see here, I'm just going to bring this up here. So just a regular paragraph is color blue, and I'm going to now write the CSS declaration for warning. So warning, and warning has to start with a period or a dot, okay, warning. I have the code hint, so I'm going to take that, oops, that's not the correct one. That's more like a comment. Okay, so warning, and in my declaration, I'm going to say color is red. Okay, so you can pause the video for now if you just want to make sure you have these 2 declarations and have it at the top so that you know, you're not confused and have multiple you know, CSS declarations. Just do this at the top, all right? And pause the video and copy that, okay? And I'm also going to go back and show you in selectors.html what I have here. So I have main, and instead of main, 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is just a regular p tag, and the second paragraph has the warning class applied to it. So I'm going to make sure everything is saved, save all, and in packages, I'm going to view in browser my selector.html. So you can see the first one is blue because all paragraphs will be blue, except for the one with warning class applied to it. It's going to be red, okay? It's going to be red. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you. All right, so I can see that my page is missing a header here, so I'm going to place a header in here. All right, and in my header, I'm going to say this is my title. Okay, so this is my title. And I also want the header to have the same style applied to it. I also want it to be red. I also want it to be a warning. So I can apply that class, that attribute class equals warning, I can apply it to the header. Okay? And the header will now take on whatever is in warning. Okay? Whatever style that's in warning, it will take it on. Okay? Because it now has that class. Okay? All right, so let's go and save all. And let's go and view it. Okay, this is my title. Right, and if you're wondering why it's so small, it's because it's just a regular, there's no, it's not in an H1 or anything, it's just in the header tag. So if you want it to be bigger and like a heading, then you have to go in there and put a H1 in it. Okay, oops, H1. Now you may ask, should I have the class warning, you know, in H1 or in the header? It depends. Do you want everything in the header to be red, or do you just want the H1 to be red? If you just want the H1 to be red, then you would move that and move it into H1 in case you want something else in the header and you don't want that to be red. Okay, so File and Save All. Okay, and there you go. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you about class. In the next video, we'll take a look at what ID is.